We're so grateful for everybody that's come out today. This is an exciting time. We have a very low voting record, it seems like, here in Idaho, and we need more help to get the word out that these primaries are so important. May 17th, make sure you vote in the primaries. That is probably what decides everything. And we're looking for more help with calls, with knocking, with putting signs out. Anything you can do, this is the time. We have to do it. We have to make an effort so that we can save and preserve Idaho. We will be sending a list around, and you can put on there what you'd like to do, or we can contact you and talk about it. And I'm going to just start that over here. If you guys will get that going around. And we're grateful that we've got Brian Smith here. He's going to introduce himself just really quick, and then we are so excited to hear from Janice and about her plan for Idaho.
Thank you, babe. Okay, Brian, that's your cue. So,
Okay.
no more than 5 minutes.
No
Let's
more
have
than
a
5
stop.
minutes. I can do that.
Okay.
Thank you. So my name is Brian Smith, and I'm running against Rhino Mike Simpson for United States Congress. So who's ever been to a rock concert? You know how they have the warm-up band come out? Well, I'm the warm-up speaker for the rock star, Janice. Okay, that's how we do that. So I ran in 2015 against Mike. Who's moved here after 2015? Raise your hand if you moved here after 2015. Okay. Now, a lot of you are from states like California. I talked to Wally, and Wally didn't really want to tell me he was from California. I got it out of him. Okay. I'm here to tell you, you folks are going to help save our state. Thank you for coming. I ran against Mike because in 2014 he was just too liberal, and Mike has accomplished the impossible. He has gotten worse. He's been for 22 years. He's been in Washington, where he has done what? He's opposed term limits. He's been paid millions of dollars in salaries and benefits. He's also voted consistently to expand government, for bigger spending. And you ready for this? Some of you won't believe it. He also voted for special transgender rights. He's also voted against the Second Amendment. He did it again last week. Who knew that? Raise your hand if you saw that. You're paying attention. And now what does he want to do? He wants to destroy 4 dams on the Lower Snake River. Mike's plan is totally absurd. Everybody here knows it, right? If you know it, raise your hand. Totally, look at this, okay? Totally absurd, yet Mike remains committed. He's committed to radical environmentalists who want to prioritize fish over Idaho's farmers and families. It's crazy. Now, if that weren't bad enough, he also joined Nancy Pelosi in the January 6th Witch Hunt Commission. You may know that. We can do way better than that. In Idaho, when the Liberals expanded Obamacare with Medicaid expansion, when the Liberals also, well, we had a governor who he vetoed the grocery sales tax repeal. Who thinks we should get rid of the grocery sales tax?
Yes.
Obviously, right? He vetoed it. He was a Republican. And recently we had a redistricting map that was filed that threatened our election integrity. I was the lawyer who, in all those instances, I took it right to the Supreme Court, led that fight. I fought the election integrity map because there was an election integrity issue. I will tell you, as your congressman, I will continue to fight for election integrity. We must require, in all 50 states, photo ID to vote. We have to do that. Yeah. We also need to restart building the Trump border wall. And what else do we need to do? Anybody know? We need to support the pro-Trump America First agenda. That's what we need to do. Now, I will tell you something else. Who in here feels like they've got somebody in Washington who speaks for them? Watch all these hands go up. This is every group I go ask this question. Nobody raises their hand because you don't have anybody. We don't have anybody. Now, that's where I can come in. I can be and will be your conservative voice in Washington. I look forward, when I win this term, to speaking out against who? The liberals, the Democrats, the leftists, the rhinos. These people who want to turn our country into a socialist dumpster fire. I am looking forward to that. Now make no mistake about it, Mike's not going to go down without a fight or without slinging mud. Who's already seen his commercials he's got out there? Okay, you've seen them, all right. That's what he's going to try to do. Because you see, I'm a lawyer and I'm an easy target. I can prove to you how easy it is to attack a lawyer. Let me show you how to do it, how easy this is. How do you get a lawyer out of a tree? You cut the rope. So you shouldn't be laughing at that, but you are. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. And what we're going to do is we are going to hand out an envelope to everybody. And we'd ask you to contribute to the campaign. And if you can't, please give that envelope to somebody who can. Thank you again. I'm Brian Smith, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
Janice McGeachin.
Is it good morning or good afternoon? It's hard to keep track of it all these days, but good afternoon. And thank you for being here. Thank you to Stand Up for Idaho for hosting this today. I have to be totally honest with you all today and share with you that it's been a long last 10 months. And I'm a human being. I'm getting tired and run down, and I have been praying, asking God for, give me more strength. I need more strength to make it through the last couple of months that are left of the campaign. And the message that came to me, it said, you've done all that you need to do. Just be more of me. And that was really powerful. Those words were powerful to me. And it was freeing. And I thought, okay, that's good. I can go with that. So give me the encouragement. I started speaking about things and reading scripture verses as I've presenting more and more to people and just trying to convey the message, because honestly, what's going to happen in this campaign is going to be in God's hands, and it's His will what happens, and I'm going to do my part to win this race. But I also can be used in the process, to convey the right message. And so I've been doing that more and more, and I've been asking for God to give me the strength and the encouragement. Last week I got a great message of support. I went to we sent out a fundraiser newsletter, and I went to the post office, and literally there was this big, huge cart full of checks, letters, and money from people all over the state of Idaho, sending in $5, $25, $35, all the way up to $1,000. And my sweet mom, yesterday, it was just overwhelming to me. But to see that level of support from people all over Idaho was amazing. And my sweet mom was there helping me with that yesterday. So in my mind, I was thinking this week, okay, God, what's going to be next? What's going to be your next show of support and encouragement for me in this? And as I was pulling up into the parking lot today, I pulled up I parked my car, and I look, and there's this car that pulls up right in front of me, and I see my second mom, who's here in Idaho Falls, my second mom, Ella. I see Ella in the car, and then I look over, and I see Laura, my best friend, Laura from junior high, pulling up, and she's here today, and that is such a gift, such a blessing to have you here with me today, Laura and Ella, and thank you so much for being here with me. And I asked Laura, we were best friends in junior high, and I said, Laura, we served on the drill team at Skyline High School together. I said, Laura, would you please come up and let's do a cheer or a drill today. So she said she would, so Laura,
come on. Hey, I'm here because this is the best lady in the world. I've known her since we were kids, and she's always had a special gift from God, and I'm so proud of her. And I live in Colorado now, but man, I'm trying to get dual statehood so I can vote here, because you guys, this is the girl. She's wonderful.
Both of you being here today is truly a gift from God, and how much this has lifted me up and encouraged me, you'll never know. So thank you for being here today.
And a nice big surprise.
A big surprise, yeah. And of course my sweet mom and dad that are here, and so many of my supporters here from Bonneville County. I'm sure if I started mentioning all of their names, I'd leave somebody out, so I'm not going to make that mistake. But thank you to all of you who are here today with the campaign from Bonneville County. So the other day on the steps of the Capitol, I'm Janice McGeachin, your Lieutenant Governor. I'm honored to be serving as your Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for the confidence and the trust that you've placed in me in the past 4 years, and then also when I served as a state representative from this area for 10 years. And I'm one of those Republicans, one of those conservative Republicans that actually follows the Republican platform. I vote in support of our platform. I'm not one that walks the walk, or that talks the talk. I actually walk the walk. And I served for 10 years in the House, but because I don't believe in term limits, I term limited myself and came back home to Idaho Falls. And so I think we're going to be wrapping up the legislative session next week, thankfully. I think they're about ready, and I'm going to be so happy to come back home to Idaho Falls and be with my family and my friends. But the other day on the Capitol, the steps of the Capitol, I unveiled what I have put together to be my vision for the state of Idaho. And when I called together this, I put a lot of thought into these ideas, and we've put it down into bullet points and presented it on Thursday at the state capitol. And I started out my press conference with a prayer for the kidnapping of baby Cyrus that happened last week. And I asked God for a miracle. I asked God, please return the baby to his parents. This is such an extreme example of something that happened in our state that should never have happened. In this case, there was no record of abuse of this child, and they just literally went and snatched the baby out of the arms of her breastfeeding mother because the mother missed one appointment for weighing in her baby. Now the baby, how can it possibly be that there's abuse with this child when her mother took the baby to the hospital because the baby was losing weight? There's something going on with the child, and the mother loves her baby, so she took her to the hospital and wanted him to get well. So they released the baby from the hospital, and there was no written agreement with the hospital, no requirement from the state of Idaho that she do these regular checkups. But she was going back in, taking the baby in, and on the Friday, March 11th, the mother woke up and was not feeling well, so she called the physician to say that she would not be able to make her checkup schedule that day. Then the physician, who was concerned, thinking that the baby's life was in danger, called the police, called the Meridian Police Department. No, actually, the way it works is they call the Child Protection Services, the agency, the Department of Health and Welfare. And it was the Department of Health and Welfare that called the police. They put out a BOLO, which is be on the lookout for this family, the vehicle. And they pulled them over Friday night at 11:30. I was passing by. I was at an event in Twin Falls, got back late to Garden City at that night at 11:30. 11 cop cars around this family. I saw the video, lots of you have. They literally yanked the baby out of the arms of his nursing mother and threw him in the hospital. So I prayed on Thursday for a miracle and for God to intervene in this case because it's gotten completely out of control. And guess what? Yesterday we got that miracle because the baby was returned back to the family. That's the power of prayer. And I would ask that you would please go onto my website, Janice for Idaho. We've put together a video of that, the prayer and my press conference, and I ask you to come onto that website and watch that video and share it with your friends. My message on Thursday to the people of Idaho, as I have traveled across the state and listened to the concerns of the people, my vision for the state of Idaho is that I'm going to put together an administration that it works for the people of Idaho and is not going to be for the special interests and the corrupt politicians that are running things in Boise today. And so this is the vision that I've come up with. It's a 10 bullet points, my first 100 days, similar to what President Trump did. The pledge, the first 100 days of what I pledged to do to you as your next governor. There's a number of these things that I can do administratively as the CEO of the state, but also a number of things on here that I will need to work with the legislative body to do. And last night, there's a lot of detail. I'm kind of a policy wonk person, and bless the hearts of many, there were about 60 people in Blackfoot last night that I literally went through every one of these bullet points, and they were so patient. They stayed awake the whole time, but I don't think they really cared about all the detail. But just in general, number one, what I'm going to pledge to the people of Idaho is to guarantee health freedom to the citizens of Idaho. No government should ever mandate a health procedure or a mask on an individual. I'm going to tell you that standing with me that day, and when I was the acting governor, the first time the governor left the state, I issued an executive order which banned the use of masks on our kids. So I want to tell you a little background about why I did that, because some people have questioned. The governor himself called it a political stunt. And some people have questioned, why are you not supporting the governor? Why are you stabbing in the back like that? But let me tell you the story of why I did this. About a year ago, I was on the same steps of our Capitol, and there was a mom there. I was there to support this rally against the mask mandates that were being forced on our school children all across Idaho. And there was a mother that was there, and she was telling the story about her daughter who was being bullied in the playground in an Idaho school because she didn't want to wear a mask. The kids were spitting on her, they were throwing rocks at her, they doxed the family, and the family had been receiving death threats, and she was beat up on the playground. And that spoke to my heart, and I said, this is intolerable, that this is happening in my state. And so the first time that I had the opportunity to correct that, I did. And it was too much hypocrisy for me to see these politicians prancing around, going to these meetings with 500 people in the room wearing no mask, and our kids were being forced to mask up in the school. So that's why I issued the executive order to prohibit the mask mandate. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to finish that job, and we're going to make sure that these mandates are, no medical mandate is forced on the people of Idaho.
Good.
I'm also committed to election integrity as the candidate who's endorsed by President Trump. And I'm also endorsed by Arizona Senator Wendy Rogers, who has called for a 50-state forensic audit into the 2020 election, the irregularities that happened there. And we're still learning. We're learning more and more about some of the things that happened. And we need to get to the bottom of what happened and why. And not just that, not just the 50-state forensic audit, but also forensic audits within our own state. As the private sector, some people question and say, we don't need that in Idaho. Are you insulting the local clerks that are running our elections or the current Secretary of State? No, that's not it at all. What we're doing as the private sector, we are constantly being audited. Our books are audited, our inventory is audited, our tax returns are audited all the time, and we're used to that level of transparency. And I believe that our government should also have that same level of transparency, especially when it comes to your vote and giving you the confidence that your vote matters.
Yes.
So I'm going to pledge to make sure that we do everything that we can to never let our elections be changed as they were under Governor Little, to take away our right to vote in person, And there are other things that we can do as well. Having these tamper-proof ballots, it's a little bit more of an investment, but if we buy these, if we invest in these tamper-proof ballots, and then they go to do an audit, a forensic audit, and they find one of these ballots that is missing one watermark for security, they're going to take that ballot and they're going to throw it away.
Yeah.
It won't be counted. As far as building up our Idaho economy, there's more that we need to do to support our small business community. Now, 90% of the jobs that are created in our state are generated from the small business sector, not the big business and the corporate cronies that are taking over our state. We're going to eliminate all these special interest tax incentives which brought Facebook into Idaho. They're giving away our state. They gave them special legislation to give them, say, you don't have to pay this tax or that tax if you just come to Idaho. This Facebook. And Facebook made a promise that said, we promise that we will bring more water into our facility to cool these computers and what we're using. And so you have to ask the question, oh, how's that going to work out? Where's that water going to come from? Is it going to come from our small family farms? Is it going to come from the citizens, the homeowners? Where's it going to come from? So we're going to eliminate those special interest tax incentives that are being driven by corrupt politicians. There was another one that just passed through the legislature just the other day to give to more giveaways to major companies that can produce semiconductors. Guess who that is in Idaho? Micron. Special interest legislation for one company, and this company, Micron, which is enforcing the vaccine mandate on their employees. There's a lawsuit that's been filed against Micron because they're discriminating against the employees that have chosen not to get the vaccine. They can't even sit at their own desk and eat lunch without being segregated. It's ridiculous what's happening in our state right now, and we're giving away special tax incentives for them. I'm going to sign a proclamation that says all businesses are essential, and we will never shut businesses down. There's a lot we need to do to fight corporate cronyism and corruption, and we're going to lead the way and to support Idaho's economy. On number 4, our constitutional rights. We're going to defend the freedom of speech against this cancel culture that's happening in our country. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room today, because I want to give you some tools to go back home to talk to your friends and neighbors about the outright lies and slander against my character, about this whole thing that happened about me submitting a video to a group of people. So the story, what happened there, in addition to President Trump's endorsement, I also have the endorsement of Michelle Malkin, who's a traditional conservative commentator. She is a woman. Her family immigrated to America legally from the Philippines, and she's married to a Jew. So if there was such a diversity checklist, then she can check off a lot of those boxes as far as a diversity. She's the person that invited me to submit a video to a group of young people at the America First conference. These are young conservatives that support America First policies. She invited me, I presented the video, and now my character is under complete assassination and outright slander by the fake news media. So to give you, I'm being called a racist, a white nationalist, a white supremacist, an anti-Semite, but I'm going to give you a couple of things to take home to talk to your neighbors about. If I were any of such of those that I'm being accused of, would I have hired an immigrant, or actually he's a refugee that came over from Sudan to work in my business?
No.
Well, if I was such a person as that, would I be helping to pay for the college education of a Hispanic employee of mine here in Idaho Falls? So take that back to your friends when they want to know, what's this all about, and is this who she is? Give them those examples, because, and then I was hosted this morning at a meet and greet in town who is part Jewish or full Jewish, I'm not sure. But if I was any one of those, I wouldn't, these things wouldn't. Look at my life, look at who I am and what I say. And what I say is that we all are created in the image of God. We are all created equal, and we have inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I do not condone any form of identity politics, because that only seeks to divide us. So take that home with you and talk to your neighbors about what that's all about. And we're gonna make sure that we guarantee your right to worship freely, and that never happens again, where Governor Little refused to allow us to go to our church during his lockdowns. We're gonna fight to protect our First Amendment right and our Second Amendment right. And one of the things that I see a vision for our state is that we're going to incentivize the increased production of firearms and ammunition right here in Idaho. We're going to do more to protect our state sovereignty by eliminating our dependence on the federal government, remove administrative rules which conflict with our Constitution and our statutes. And number 6, energy independence. We have so much opportunity in this area to lead out in the nation to develop an independent energy policy. We have, here in Idaho, we have some of the largest reserves of cobalt and thorium. Cobalt is used to develop these batteries that are needed, and thorium can be used to develop renewable safe and renewable energy. Sorry, though I have a little bit of brain freeze these days. So we're gonna, and part of that, my vision is we're gonna reopen the University of Idaho School of Mines so that we can teach our kids and cultivate this. And they're the ones that can help us responsibly manage these resources. There's a battery that's being developed, the technology is out there. We have some of the smartest minds right here in Idaho Falls, the highest number of nuclear scientists right here in Idaho Falls, and the asset that we have at the Idaho National Laboratory. But what are they doing? What are they doing out there? They're so caught up in the bureaucracy and this agreement by our current Attorney General, who we need to replace, won't even allow small amounts of material to come in for research. The research is needed to further develop these products. But it's called a small modular reactor that's about the size of this display unit right here, can provide energy and electricity for a whole subdivision for 1 year. This is the power of the technology that we have at our fingertips, and we no longer have to be reliant on China and Russia and Saudi Arabia for our energy. And this is how Idaho can lead out in this area. Number 7, military and defense. I want to do what the state of Florida has already doing, and we're going to develop our own state guard, so that our men and women are under the state of Idaho's policies and requirements, not the federal government. We already have the framework that's there in our statute. We just need to do it. And Idaho is one of the state that attracts more retired law enforcement and veterans into our state. And so we also have the talent and the skill to do this. In the office of the governor, I will work to restore the proper constitutional balance of power between the legislative and the executive branch, which has been eroded the last 2 years. I will implement an Idaho First customer service model for our state agencies. I'm getting very impatient and tired of taking phone calls from Idahoans who are frustrated with getting through with the state agencies, whether it's the Department of Labor on an unemployment insurance claim, the Child Protection Services. An example that came to me a few months ago from a business up in North Idaho was in a contract that was illegal, and the realtor wouldn't release them out of this contract. They can't sell their business, their property, because they can't get released out of this contract. They notified the licensing agency 2 months ago, and they still haven't had it be resolved. And they keep calling and say, well, there's an investigation, we're looking into it. 2 months. It's that somebody needs to just be able to pick up the phone and say, I've got a problem, what do I need to do to resolve this? And it gets taken care of immediately. And so we're going to make sure that we implement more of an Idaho First customer service administration in state government. In the area of education, we are going to have provide true school choice in our state. In a ruby red state, we cannot get a school choice program through the legislature. So disheartening. So many of you came on the bus to Boise in support of that bill, and it couldn't get through the House committee even. So in a ruby red state, the people of Idaho are ruby red conservative, but our leaders are blue, and we're under the direction and leadership of blue leaders. And that's why we need to clean some house. So we're going to have true school choice. We're going to eliminate all traces of Common Core, and we're going to go back to the basics of teaching the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3, American civics, and Idaho history, and get rid of all this nonsense that is coming through our school systems today in the form of social emotional learning, diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever you want to call it. It's all based on these Marxist principles that this is how they changed California forever, and we're not going to let that happen in Idaho. And let's see, also I'm a big proponent of skills-based training because we have hundreds of jobs that are out there for the business community needs the workers, and we need to do more to train people up in those areas and provide good paying jobs for the individual. And then lastly, continue to work to defend our traditional conservative values. I'm a woman of faith. I do believe that life begins at the moment of conception. And we're going to make Idaho a sanctuary for my state. We're going to get that obscene materials out of our school districts and out of our libraries. There was a bill that was presented in the House, passed the House, to do just that. Outright pornography that they're showing in some of the libraries. And so the bill would simply require that those materials be taken out of the children's section and being placed in an adults only section. It passed the House, but the leadership of the Senate would not refuse to give the bill a hearing and called that bill a crazy bill. This is from a Republican leader in the Senate. So we're going to continue to work to protect our kids from these abusive practices and do more to protect our traditional conservative values. So that's my vision for the state of Idaho. Thank you for your patience today. I'd love to answer some questions that you may have. And I'm telling you that if we stay united in this effort, we have the numbers and we can win this race. And I'm asking you for your support. We have statewide support, we have the resources, and we've got the right message. So we can win this race, and it's so important that we do. So I'm asking you today for your vote to become your next governor. So thank you so much for being here today, and I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
to hear about your customer service approach to government. When I was in the United States Air Force, there was a thing on every Air Force base called the Consolidated Base Personnel Office. And at that building, which is where you went for any personnel issue, you went and you spoke to the person at the customer service desk. Their goal was that you never got the runaround. They had to listen to what your issue was, tell you which branch, which office to go to, which usually were in the same building, and they were judged on preventing runaround because it was a waste of time. If that sort of model could be done for the state, where you go to somebody who says, you go to this office, if they try to push you off, come back to me, and things will get fixed. That's the kind of thing I would like to see for Idaho. Wasting the time of people, wasting the citizens, wasting the time of the people working for the state in these different offices is, it's a huge waste, and it frustrates everybody. So
Yes.
if we could go to that sort of model and make the results of those directions a publicly reported, publicly viewed thing, then I think we could make something that would be very functional. So I'm very, very happy to hear you talking about that sort of thing.
Yes, thanks for that idea, and that's what I'm committed to. Because I've had to, like so many citizens of Idaho, as a business owner, I've had to make those calls, and we do not have time to sit on the phone for 45 minutes or an hour or more, try to get through to some agency to try to resolve a problem. So I understand this frustration from the citizens of Idaho because I've experienced it myself, and I'm going to commit to that. And it's because we have too much bureaucracy. Excessive bureaucracy is what is cobbling things up. Oh, sorry, Doug. You're the moderator, so.
Go ahead, you understand that. I'll try to keep track and you'll be okay.
We all rejoiced when baby Cyrus was returned to his family just this last week. But the obvious question came to me was it just a bad example of an injustice, or is it something indicative of a broader problem within Child Protective Services? If you're governor, would you lead a committee to review, pick 100 cases or something and find out if we have a bigger problem?
I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to make a new appointment to the Department of Health and Welfare. The Department of Health and Welfare will have a new director, and those underneath that individual will be committed to eliminating this abuse. And there is abuse happening. I've helped to try to resolve a couple of cases of it. It's not an isolated incident. It's one that did spiral out of control because it's not normal to yank a baby out of his mother's arms. It's so unusual. But there are other cases, and I've helped adjudicate some of them. So it's true. And the legislature has also, in years past, tried to kind of clamp down on that program, this Child Protection Services. And an area that we really need to scrutinize is perhaps some of the money that's coming through the ARPA funding to the Child Protection Services, because that's what I've heard, is that the state receives more money from ARPA funding for these cases, and if we take that money, we have to, the federal government requires that we do certain things. So that's a legitimate concern that I'm going to get to the bottom of that. Make sure, first of all, we're going to quit taking that money from the federal government.
Hi, Janice, I'm Kevin Hoffman. I am the neighborhood grandfather. All the kids come and play at my home because I'll go outside and play with them. Every one of them has expressed to me how terrible it is in our schools to have to wear a mask when their teachers don't. How a couple of his kids in my neighborhood are not learning speech because of not being able to read lips. It is a tragedy that I hope that you can address.
Well, you can thank Brad Little that that's still going on, because if he would have left my executive order in place, that would be prohibited.
Also, on the same point, Janice, my wife, works at a company here in Idaho Falls that demanded that they get the vaccine. After she said, no, I don't want to do it, they threatened her job. Then she decided, well, I'm just going to have to do it. So she went down and she got the vaccine. And then a week later, the government said, no, you can't do that. The Supreme Court ruled that's not fair. Now she's had to take the vaccine and is not happy. She had very bad side effects. I think a lot of people have. Employers forcing vaccine on employees seems very, very unconstitutional to me. And I'm wondering what, if anything, we can do about that.
Well, again, we would prohibit that. We would ban it. And our statutes already provide for that. It's just not being enforced. So I'm not saying we need additional laws and regulations. We just need to enforce our existing laws. And it's true that it's hurting people and there are injuries. It's true because the legislature is passing through a bill through the legislature which will make vaccine injury or death a coverage under workman's compensation. It's real, it's happening, but why should all of Idaho's business community have to pay for that of the decisions of a select group of businesses that are mandating this, and in the healthcare facilities that are the ones that are receiving Medicaid and Medicare funding? The reason why they're mandating it is because they're going to get a higher rate of reimbursement from the federal government if they have a higher level of compliance with the vaccination mandates. It's purely driven by money, and it's perverse, and it needs to come to an end.
One area that hasn't been talked about in your economy is that there's a huge move from the World Economic Forum to establish ESG scores, and that would be across the world, but certainly in America, which would replicate what's happening over in China. And all money would go into the Fed, and we would then have digital currency. We would have no cash, therefore they could track every dollar. What can we do to protect Idaho from having this instituted in our state?
Ban it. There's no reason why that measure should be in place, because really is in our pension funds, they did have a bill that was attempting to ban it in our pension funds. But we really should just, if we're not looking at the profitability of a company and the ongoing, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the people of Idaho. And if they're looking at these random scores and not looking at the viability and the profitability of a business that they're investing in, they're not doing a good service to the people of Idaho.
Hi, Janice. I have a little anecdote to tell you. So I have 2 signs of yours up in my front yard and 2 of mine of yours in my backyard. I went outside the other day and some guy on a job decided to tell me, oh, you know she's racist, right? I was like, what? She's racist. It's like, okay, whatever, man. So later in the day, I noticed that my other signs in my backyard had been ripped off and stolen. So I immediately went to Home Depot, got some zip ties, and put the 4 other signs of yours on my fence. And so it's just...
Thank you.
I have noticed it uses dirty tactics, kind of like that, in a broad sense, to kind of get what they want. I was wondering how you can overcome that and, I don't know, not get your hands dirty, but kind of preempt those kind of things from now until...
Well, I'm not sure what you mean when you say preempt those, because they're there, and I'm just one that's standing in their way today. But mark my words, they're coming after all of us.
Yep.
So we better toughen up, we better grow a spine, and like so many of our leaders refuse to do today, and they acquiesce and give and crawl away, and we need to stop doing that. We need to play their game and be just as tough, throwing things back at them. Conservatives are just, we're too nice and too respectful in so many ways, but we need to learn and push back against that, because that's what they want us to do. They want us to cower and run away. At the meet and greet that was this morning at a local business, they have our signs out all over on Woodruff and First Street. And they advertise publicly for this meet and greet. Well, they got a phone call yesterday from an anonymous caller warning us that these protesters were going to show up and they were going to remove me from the state of Idaho.
Oh, boy.
But guess what? Nobody showed up. They have a louder bark and no bite. So we all have to just stand confident. And when I was praying, and the scripture verses that were shared with me about the armor of God in Ephesians, my friend Laura, we put what do? We put on the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, and the sword, the shield of faith. And we have confidence that by putting on the armor of God, that we can withstand anything that comes at us. And we need to stand strong against these evil forces that are trying to take down our great nation.
I believe some of your propaganda that you were hearing came from our GOP chairman, Tom Luna, who called her a white racist, a white supremacist. If there's room for Tom Luna, Little Brad, Lawrence Wasden, Scott Bedke, there's 53% for Janice McGeachin in our GOP in Idaho.
Yes.
I don't know, at least I haven't seen a statement from him calling me that.
It was in the Post-Register.
Was it? Okay.
It was an article in the Post-Register.
Well, then shame on him. Shame on him
Because we
if
don't
he said
need
that.
that in our GOP.
Okay.
But it's the other people we don't need in the GOP.
And that's what I'm talking about. Our leaders need to knock it off and quit shying away and cowering to the left. They think we need to be strong and say, shut up, we don't, so what? So what? And my party, I've been a Republican most of my adult life. We are very divided right now, 50-50, but I only need 51% to win. So make sure you get your friends to the polls, and we can win this race.
Hey Janice, does the state have any power over the federal mandates as far as IML goes? If you do the anti-mandate state?
Well, no. The answer to that is no. The state does not have the jurisdiction over those federal policies. However, there's ways that we can address that. We don't need to help facilitate that by receiving all this funding for the vaccine and through these vaccination centers. Throw some roadblocks out there and make it difficult. You want to make the vaccination on your employee, then it's your responsibility to get it, or maybe they have to go out of the state to get it. There's ways we have to put our thinking cap on how to deal with this. But I would also say that the state, just like DeSantis did in Florida, that we could issue citations and fines. If the governor can issue $2,500 citations to small businesses for opening up outside of his order just to pay the heating bill, why couldn't we also issue citations to these businesses if they're going to force this? That's what the state of Florida did. And so many citations that are enforceable, it's only a matter of time that they would back off.
This morning, the judge in Montana upheld mandates for the UNCA medical facilities. So Medicare, Medicaid, if they accept the funding, they cannot block vaccine mandate. So until it works through that Supreme Court challenge, and that's the only one that's left, I believe, Medicaid, Medicare, really the people who work in those facilities are the people who work for INL, because they're a behemoth, and they've got Department of Energy behind them. Does the state want to get into the, with the federal DOE or the INL or the Vermac or the St. Luke's?
Yeah, we have to. We have to start pushing back against the federal government. Just like with this agreement with the BAT agreement and the management of the laboratory, we need to start pushing back against the federal government. They have not been complying with their side of the agreement to remove the waste from the site. Well, it's preventing us from bringing additional research into our facility. It's hampering our state. Why don't we go load up those caskets on a semi truck and take it, deliver it to Washington, D.C., and leave it on the steps of the U.S. Capitol?
I had 3 points that I'm thinking about here. I'm not sure how the vaccine mandate would apply to the INL, since it's a federal thing, but for any other business in Idaho, is it possible to maybe arrange some sort of legislature where you put the liability of any side effects that goes on with the vaccine or anything like that on the employer who mandates it on their employees?
Yes. Yes.
Would you be willing to add to your pamphlet there and under your economy thing, list your stance on ESG and educate those who are not up to speed on this, as that I think this is huge coming up in this next legislature.
Yes, I will. I will continue to talk about that. And this will be, it's on my website, so any modifications, we can do that on the website. And then it's just a matter of printing up a new visual aid to carry around the state.
Just in my own circle of friends, I run into people all the time who've never heard of it, they don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And it's huge, what the effects that we have on the state. Lastly, I'm wondering, do you have any thoughts you might want to share on, there's 11 of you now running for governor in the state. Is there any way to maybe consolidate a couple of those behind you? A lot of
I've been
things
trying.
share
I've reached out to the Humphreys campaign because we want to sit down and talk to him. This person, he's been campaigning for this, same amount of time I have, almost a full year, spent a lot of money, and has not risen at all in the polls. He's still polling at 3%. He has no money left. He's continuing to be in that 3% range in the polling. There's another gentleman that is. None of the other ones, well, Ammon Bundy, as you all know, made the decision, in my view, made the right decision to get out of the Republican primary. And I did talk with Ammon Bundy. We sat together and we talked. And we shared our concern about splitting the vote. So at least we had that conversation with each other, and he's made the decision to run as an independent. But we've been trying to reach out to the Humphreys campaign. He's not returning our phone calls. And then the other gentleman, I will be reaching out to him as well. This upcoming week, Friday is the deadline to pull your name and not be on the ballot. The polling shows that right now, Governor Little, let's face it, he still is polling favorably. But I'm at 35% now. And the others combined are less than 5% polling. And so the only viable campaign to be successful in this election is our campaign. And we have the structure in place, we have the statewide support, we have the resources, we have the name recognition. If all of the conservatives would pull together, that's how we can win. So maybe you can help and make that phone call and encourage the others to get out of the race.
My name is Mark Caster. I've lived all over the country and picked Idaho because we felt this is a pretty free state and where we could be self-reliant. And power is a big part of that, having our own power. And just about 2 weeks ago, we got a note on our door that said that our power meter was being changed out to a smart meter. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We called, we sent letters. One of their selling features of this new technology is that they can turn our power on and off remotely. To me, that causes concern because I don't trust a lot of these people.
Okay.
What could we have done to prevent that in our state when a citizen said that we would never down to this point?
Back to an Idaho First administration. There are 23 states in the nation that allow for it's called the opt-in for these smart meters. So you can opt in if you want to, but you're not forced to. But Idaho's not one of those. And our own Public Utilities Commission made a vote to require this of the power companies. Now, these people are appointed by the governor, so those people will be replaced under the McGeachin administration. But this is what I'm talking about. We need an administration that fights for the people of Idaho and not the special interest. They're trying to, you can make your own determination how you feel about the smart meter. But we as citizens should have the right, if we, for whatever reason, we don't want one of those out in our backyard, we shouldn't be forced to.
Do a video on that. I don't think people understand that they could have a right to opt out if we had different leadership.
That's a good suggestion. That'll maybe be our next week's video.
Yeah, that's the first idea.
Okay. But all of these things are coming out. People are waking up. Whether it's the smart meters or the ESG, the CRT, people are waking up to what is happening in our state, and it's shocking that this is happening here in Idaho. And that's why we have this chance of a lifetime this year to get new leadership in our state and work to right the ship and prevent our state from sliding off into a blue state like Colorado, right, Laura?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm kind of shocked. Do the school kids still have to wear masks in Idaho?
No, some of them.
Okay, because that's even California. As now, like March 11th, their kids, enough outrage, the kids now don't have to wear masks. They can if they choose. So even in that corrupt state. So,
I know in the Griggs area it's the same way.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I know of a school district in Boise that is still requiring it. In Blaine County, they were going to require it, but then the parents they organized a walkout and they backed off. So. And I don't know what's happening here locally, because I've been gone for 3 months, but.
One private school that wanted to keep it, parents revolted, and they pulled back.
Good. All right, well, any other questions?
Yeah, my name's Kelly. Any suggestions or vision as far as shutting down, not shutting down, but the I-15 corridor is just a hotbed for drugs, human trafficking, just criminal activity, I guess. And there's not an awful lot of attention paid to it. Washington State for a while was handing out one-way bus tickets to send their homeless to us because apparently we were a viable landing spot. take a look at that, or shutting any of that down?
Well, we need to enforce our laws. And speaking of that, we still have a tent city in Boise, Idaho. And our governor recently announced he was going to sue the advocates. But guess what? Tent city is still there. Why don't you just go round them up and get them off the state property? So we need to enforce and the people on the grounds, on state grounds in Boise are breaking the law. So we need to enforce the law, and we need to support our law enforcement when they're attempting to enforce the law. Because because of this massive illegal immigration, we have a real problem with fentanyl. Here in Idaho, it's a big problem. I have a personal friend whose nephew died of a fentanyl overdose in Boise just about 3 weeks ago. It's very dangerous.
I get frustrated watching the legislative process in Boise because it seems there's individuals there, committee chairman or Bedkey, that can on their own decide to kill a bill. I know the governor has limited authority over that because it's a legislative process, but there's got to be some way to break that up so individuals on their own can't make these decisions.
New leadership. And the only way to get new leadership is to elect new lawmakers. And I know that there's a couple in this room here today. But they've been there too long. They're career politicians. They're used to having their power, and they subject all these people. The system, it facilitates corruption because you want to become known as an effective lawmaker, get your bills passed. You want to serve on a certain committee. You want to become a committee chair. You want to become a member of leadership. So you give yourself away every little step of the way until you wake up someday and you don't know who you are anymore, and you're bound to these special interests, and it's an abuse of power. And that's why you're all here, and you're going to help us clean the house and sweep the corruption away.
Okay, so
I'd like to say something. I find it pretty goofy and interesting here that all of a sudden you're a racist. What happened to all this past? You know, it's crazy.
Because the illiberal left, that's how I refer to them. They don't care about the truth. I mean, I've put my statements out over and over again. Why don't they just say, oh, was that the situation that happened? Or, oh, this is your formal statement. Oh, okay, I believe you. It's not that way anymore. They don't care about the truth. It's just a false narrative that they're using to attack all of us as conservatives. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to back off. That's why we can't back off in standing for.
You could get some honest, quality time on the television. That's what everybody. That's where they all hanging out on TV.
Oh, you mean that Brian Holmes reporter in Boise who hates small business and attacks young professionals who are trying to make a living and put food on their family's table? Is that person you're talking about?
Yes, that one.
That one.
That one.
okay, so
The media is the enemy of the people.
Yes, yes.
right, so my comment's more of a suggestion than anything, and it goes along with several of your bullet points: Idaho's economy, state sovereignty, energy, and independence. But as you know, Idaho has a lot of public lands, and a lot of hunters, fishers, outdoor recreationists. They like their public lands. I would suggest that you come up with a good plan to preserve, protect, and regain access while allowing us to access those lands for the Idaho's economy.
Absolutely, and that's a great treasure, a great resource that we have here in Idaho. My family, we're outdoor enthusiasts. We love the outdoors. We ski, we hike, we bike, we play golf. We love that. hunting and fishing. And so, of course, I'm going to be committed to protecting that for the citizens of Idaho. And we need to be able to responsibly manage our lands, not the federal government lands, our lands. And if we could get in there and do a better job of managing our lands and harvest some of the timber that's there, we wouldn't have these massive wildfires that we experience almost every year in the state of Idaho. They won't let us go in and collect, dead wood off the ground. And sometimes those trees fall over and block trails. And we can't even get volunteer people to go in and help clear those trails because of the federal government. But that's what we need to do. We need to be much more assertive and much more strong to start pushing back against that so that we can, because I know we can do a better job of managing our resources and protecting it.
Thank you.
Hi there, sorry again. I know it's a kind of pie in the sky ambition, but I just want to get your opinion on the Greater Idaho movement, and also you think you can get back on Tucker Carlson, maybe another spot on him.
Okay, when I said the media is the enemy of the people, not all the media, because there are some, but all the ones in Idaho, most of them in Idaho, the major networks are, and nationally, but that's why we are making an effort to get some national attention through the Tucker Carlson show, Stu Peters. I've been on America One Network often and Newsmax, and I have an interview on Monday morning at 7 a.m. So yeah, there are these outlets that are national that we're certainly reaching out to and trying to get our message out there. And then the Greater Idaho. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We'd have beachfront property in Idaho. But the method and the process there, just so everybody understands what that's all about. Each county this is allowed by statute and by the Constitution. It starts with the counties. The counties independently take a vote by the people, the citizens, and they approve it or not. And in Oregon, I think there are 8 or 9 counties now that have passed it, and they're thinking they're going to have 13 or more by this fall. And so, and Oregon has about 42 counties, similar to what Idaho has, so they're almost halfway there. Of course, they're going to leave out that one little county where Portland is. But if enough, it's all about building momentum, because then if enough counties then are supportive of it, then they would take it to their legislature. Their legislature would have to vote to approve it or not. And if it passes the Oregon legislature, then it would come to the Idaho legislature, and then Idaho legislature would approve it or not. And then it would go back to Congress, and Congress would take action on it. But geez, Congress can't seem to get anything done lately other than changing daylight savings time. So I don't know. I think it's the effort. There's not much, it seems a bit bleak to me for that to be accomplished. But they have a lot of concern, and the counties in Oregon are very much rural in nature, like a lot of the counties in Idaho.
I know you're about out of time. She's got to eat before her next event, but can you just tell us briefly your feelings about a convention of states?
Sure. Conservatives are split on that issue. I'd say pretty split down the middle. Many are in support of it and many are against it. I would say if we are not following our Constitution now, what makes us think if we added another amendment to the Constitution that would be honored and respected? The language I've seen so far deals with 3 issues. One is term limits, and yes, I absolutely support term limits of politicians. Second one is about having a balanced budget, and we absolutely should have a balanced budget on the federal level. But the states are a part of that solution. Why do we keep we are complicit in not having this balanced budget when we keep building this money into our budgets. Our budget now, when I ran for lieutenant governor, the Idaho budget was about 36% comprised of federal dollars. Now it's 46% of federal dollars. So we are complicit in this imbalance in our national budget. So I find it a little interesting that legislators are going to support this idea when at the same time they're complicit and taking all that money that's coming. But I will say that it's gotten to the point where I'm open to listening to all sides of the story, and I think we should have that discussion. But I do think that I just have to question, if we're not following our Constitution today, what's another amendment going to do?
Hi, Janice. I actually have two questions, if we have time. First question, over the last couple of years, there's been large corporations funded by Bill Gates, such as Vanguard and BlackRock, buying up land in Idaho. What is your take on that?
Well, Idaho is a state. The question is Vanguard and other big companies buying up land in Idaho. We are a state, and it is a constitutional privilege that we protect private property rights. But, so if a landowner wants to sell their land, then who is the state to decide who they may or may not sell it to? However, when it comes to foreign investors, I think that's a bit different. And we do know that China is the biggest buyer up of real estate in America, and I know that's not proper grammar, buyer up of farmland in America. So, and there are some states that are now starting to put some restrictions on the ability of these foreign adversaries, especially, from being able to come in and buy our land.
Second question. This is something I don't hear a lot about. It's not a typical conservative concern. And I want to preface the question by saying that my mom is beating cancer with multiple hemp products. Some of them are legal in Idaho. Some of them are not. What is your take on broadening that realm of medicinal hemp and marijuana legalization for medicinal purposes here in Idaho?
So under Trump's farm bill allowed hemp, the industrial production of hemp, and the use of CBD with certain trace amounts to be legal. So Idaho is now in compliance with that law, although I would like there to be a bit less regulation in that area from our state. So that's where we're at, and I support that. But beyond that, any other use of marijuana, I am very much opposed to legalization of marijuana.
Janet, the CBD is inaccurate. Idaho is not on par with 48 other states. So 0.3% THC is not legal in Idaho. Idaho Falls Cops just came in a few months ago, took products off our shelves that somebody complained on their website. It said they're legally allowing 0.3%. That's a natural production of hemp. So Idaho is still not permitting that. There's only 2 states, I think, left in the country. Well, the federal bill, agriculture, was on the federal level. The state of Idaho did not buy into it.
Okay, so I stand corrected if that's a wrong statement, but would you help me look into that? Because Bill, I thought they passed a law last year.
You can transport.
Oh, it's the transport of it.
Retail products on the shelf.
Okay.
I just would say that I would recommend researching that a little bit, because there's other hemp products that are illegal here that kill cancer. So opening that up for medicinal purposes would also defund some pharma and actually cure cancer. So.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to say on that matter, if we don't do something about that, the cartels will.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Jimmy and I have never known anyone who's overdosed or died from that product, but we personally know a number of people who have died from legal prescription medications. And that's the real problem, I believe, the scourge of opioids in our country.
My name is Susan Potter, and I appreciate your fight, and I keep doing it, you know, because you can't be politically correct in this day and age, and I believe, like you believe, that we are on our final legs, and we've got to fight this fight, we've got to win it. The gentleman that had his wife had to take a shot, I was very fortunate to have retired before COVID hit, and if it had hit when I was working, I would have had to fight them because it wasn't right. And they did, the company I worked for, did force masks, did force vaccines, and it's totally wrong. No offense to Colorado, but I think somebody that worked for the company was taking care of the health issues.
No, hey, I don't like our governor. I don't like the politics. Not everybody in, like, we have
I
rural
understand.
parts of
There's good
Colorado,
people
but
everywhere.
there's,
You're just stuck
but
in-
no, that's a one boo of Colorado, or the
Yeah,
politics for
but,
sure.
you know, there's a lot of good people that we know from Colorado too.
Thank you.
I guess I would like to make a comment to everybody that's running to be tough.
Yeah.
Don't worry about being a gentleman. Speak truth. And
I've
if
never
that-
been accused.
If Mr. Smith or the other people that are running are here, please speak truth, because our other weapon is a helmet of salvation and the sword of God, the sword of truth.
Yep.
And we need to speak up against these people that are shutting voices down and stealing signs.
Oh, yeah, and there's some fish line, I think, that you can string along from your sign to your fence and put some security cameras out there, maybe trip them up a little bit when they come to the.
But Janice, don't change how she is, because she speaks the truth in love. We don't need to, we need to be strong, but not, those people like that are the minions for the enemy. And there's not very many of them, but they're planted everywhere to discourage the rest of us, and it's not, be who you are. I love that about you, because you can deliver our strong message with grace and not the ugly of the minions. So
Yeah.
Feet shot, speak gospel peace.
Yeah.
Yes,
But-
I'm trying to stay above the fray.
But don't back down.
Yeah.
Keep doing it, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have to raise your hand so I can see it. There you go.
How do you feel about debates with little brat? I'm sorry.
A mother can say that, right?
Are there debates in the future?
Oh, yes,
Will
yes,
we debate?
I spoke to one of the reporters who has given me a date in May for one with KTVB, and there's gonna be one for Idaho Public Television. So these are already on the calendar, and I'll be prepared, bring it on, yeah, I'm excited to debate. And I've also reached out to other groups, like the Freedom Foundation, and I saw a debate up in North Idaho at a church last weekend between the Secretary of States, and I thought, that's awesome, because they started it out in prayer, and it was a civil debate. We need to have more cordial debate. So I'm trying to also not only participate in these debates, but help try to facilitate other debates that are maybe perhaps a little more on the friendly side towards conservatives, because we're just naive if we just keep walking into these debates that are, hosted by the radical left and not doing some of our own debates from those that are on the conservative side. So those are coming up, and we're going to be ready for them.
I heard that the debates are the 3rd and the 5th, is that correct?
May 3rd and May 5th. Yep. Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
Who's moderating?
Well, we don't have, as candidates, we don't necessarily have the control over like the KTVB one or the Idaho Public Television. But of course, we couldn't say, I'm not going to go to that debate. It's part of what we have to do, just have to be prepared for it. But that's why I think it's important for other organizations that are more conservative in nature to also host debates.
Stand up for Idaho.
Stand up for Idaho. You want to host a debate? Yeah.
Dan, can you speak to the gender choice garbage that's happening in our universities and schools?
Yeah, I wish I had some of those materials with me. Again, a citizen went onto campus and gathered up all this material from Boise State University. They have a gender equity center there at Boise State University, and they're giving out buttons that say he, him, her, she. They have booklets that they put out for free. They're giving away free condoms. Those are adults that are attending college, should be able to pay for their own birth control. Doesn't have to be given away for free. But that's happening at our universities, and some of this obscenity that is happening in our schools. There was a bill that, on all this gender equity and gender identity, what we do know is that a lot of our young people at tender ages for whatever reason, they're experiencing things in their lives where they're seeking out counseling and hormonal treatment and surgical procedures. And it's happening to these young people. There was a bill that was proposed that would prohibit that for minors under the age of 16, and it couldn't go anywhere in the legislature. And that was one of the bills that the Senate leader called craziness coming from the House. But I mean, if we can tell our kids you can't smoke a cigarette or you can't go to a tanning booth unless you're 16 years of age or older, why could not we mandate some of the restrictions on these treatments? And from what I understand about the shooting in Rigby, that was a factor, that this individual was experiencing some confusion there, and it was a factor in the shooting in the Rigby Junior High last year.
I guess to piggyback on that, is there any kind of attention being paid to mental health here in Idaho? We are seeing so much of the gender dysphoria, suicide, depression, just confusion within specifically young people. But it is something that a lot of people just don't even talk about.
Well, government isn't the solution. The societal problems that we're experiencing in America today come from a lack of family support and security within the family, and we need to turn back. We need to turn our hearts back to God. We need to do more to support the family structure, because we are dealing with these things as a society, but it's not the role of government. But if those things were dealt with better, then we wouldn't have so much of this concern with mental health. It's real. I'm not discounting it. I'm recognizing that it's very real. But the government providing more mental health services is not the solution.
I keep hearing about different ranches, farms, homesteads, people move here to purchase, and then the state comes in and tells them they can't drill a well or they can't do something on their property because it's now been determined this little mud puddle is a wetland. Doesn't the state Department of Lands have enough of their own land to worry about? Is there any way we can rein these jobs in?
Well, that's what Obama was trying to do. It was called the WOTUS rule, the waters of the, it's an acronym for Waters of the United States. And the EPA was going to go in any puddle of water that you had on your property. This, through administrative rule, he couldn't get it passed through Congress. So Obama was going to do this through administrative rule and give the EPA the authority to go to that puddle, and didn't like it, was going to shut you down. That was one of the things that, one of the executive orders that Trump removed. He said, we're not going to do this anymore. But now under the Biden administration, especially now that the Governor Little has kept us in this emergency declaration and this COVID agreement, it's written specifically into the agreement that it says that the state of Idaho must enforce federal law and regulation such as that through the EPA and the IRS. So that's another reason why we need to get rid of that agreement that's going on almost 2 years now, because that's how they're coming in and violating our property and our water rights here in our state, and it needs to come to an end.
Janice, I know we had talked very quickly on your way in about President Trump, the true president, endorsing.
Watch out, you might be called a radical.
You domestic terrorist, you.
And how important it is.
Did I just die? That's one way to shut.
That's one way to shut us down, huh?
Need to answer that question. Just how important it is that President Trump come and endorse you physically.
Oh. Well, we're still working on that, and we're pursuing every angle that we can. And my friend Laura has a special connection with Donald Trump Jr. She sat right next to him at a convention, at the convention in Colorado. So we're going to try everything possible to get him to come to Idaho, because I do believe that that's what will be the thing that puts us over the top right before the election.
All right, everybody, let's give her another great big hand.